In this lesson, we are going to create product details page, but it's not about creating all details like this. We are going to create a page that only show the title of product. In this path, what we need to do is to create an API on the backend and create a function on the front end to send Ajax request to get all data about the product. In this lesson, we implement this part, and for the next lesson, after getting all data in a front-end part, we go for the UI part to shape this page. Let's start with coding. Here is the plan. First of all, we need to go to product screen and get product ID from request. Let's do that. In the Explorer, src screen, open product screen. For the rendered, let's define a function body and get request from parse request URL function. Const request equal to, I'm going to call parse request URL. Let's import parse request URL, import curly braces parse request URL from // util. What I need to do at this point is to send an Ajax request to the server to get all information about a product with request.id. So const product equal to, I'm using await because get products returns a promise, and what I want to get from this method is the real data about the product. Get product, we need to implement this function request.id. Because we are using await here, the render function should be async. It's time to implement get products. There are two ways to implement that. The first way is to implement it right here, but I do not recommend this because we need to have a single file to send Ajax request to the server. So let's create that file. I'm going to create that inside the src folder. Set file name to api.js. What I'm gonna do in the api.js is to define a function to get product information. Export const get product. This function is async because we are going to send an Ajax request. Get an ID, it's the ID of the product. And what I'm gonna do at this point is to create try catch, because if there is an error in the request, I want to send the correct information to the caller, and the catch part should handle errors here. Let's define const response, and it's gonna be await Axios. We are going to use Axios to send Ajax request. Axios accept all parameters for sending a request through this object. The first one is URL, and the URL prefix is the address of backend. I'm not going to repeat address of backend again and again. So I just define a config file inside src like this and set the file name to config.js. In this file, all configuration above the front end should be set. Let's define export const API URL equal to, the address is http:// localhost 5000. That's it. Let's go back to api.js, and here I'm going to use that constant. It should be API URL, and I can get rid of last L, and when it's blue API URL autocomplete, if I press tab, it's gonna get imported automatically. And plus concatenate that with the address of this API /API/products, and here the ID of this product should be appended. plus ID. And here it's await. Let's see. It just converted to template literal, and it's much better than having plus inside the strings. Okay, let's go for other settings. The method that I'm going to send request to the server is get. And in the headers section, I'm going to set content type to application JSON. That's it. Let's get rid of this error. This error says that import preferred default. I just like other errors that ESLint give to us. Let's click on this, copy this part, and then go to ESLint RC file and add it inside single quote and put a 0. That's it. We just get rid of this error. Let's continue API. Here it's time to import Axios. Import Axios from Axios. In the lesson about Webpack, we have installed Axios library. If you haven't installed it, just open your console, open a new terminal, go to frontend folder and run npm install Axios. After pressing enter, it's gonna automatically installed and you shouldn't get any error about Axios at all. At this point, I just get the response and it's time to evaluate that response. To evaluate that, what I'm gonna do is to have an if condition here and compare response.status text with OK. Here I'm using negative condition because if there is an error, I should throw new error, and the message of error is gonna be response.data.message. Let's get rid of extra equal sign here. That's it. At this point, the result is okay. The response of Ajax request is okay, and it's time to return data. Return response.data. In the catch part, when there is an error, I console log that error and then return this object. Error equal to error.message. That's it about creating getProduct function to send an Ajax request to server and get data about the products. And it's time to implement this API. Let's open server.js inside backend folder. And inside backend folder, what I'm going to do is to add a new router, app.get/API/products/:id. It's a placeholder for the real ID of product that I need to return. And create res function to respond the data. Res.send. This time what I'm gonna do is to use find function on array. Data.products.find x goes to x._id equal to rec.params.id. What is rec.params.id? It's exactly the ID that user enter in the request at this part. What if this ID doesn't exist? Let's define const product equal to and make it as a result of this find function. Like this. And then check if product exists, then return that product, okay? If it doesn't exist, the else part. In the else part, res set a status to 404. So it just return 404 error. And what's the message? Send message equal to product not found. So we just created a backend API for /API/products product ID. And in the front-end section, we created a function to send a request to that API and get the product information. It's time to go to product screen. And at this point, what I'm gonna do is to import get products from API. Get rid of the last character and type it and select the blue one, click on it to import get products. At this point, I should have the product here. Let's just return the name of this product. What I'm gonna do is to create a template literal and create a h1, and inside that product dot name. It's just for test that it works, and close the h1. Let's check the results. Go to browser. You see here I have the product here. Let's click on the home page and select another one. As you see, the name of product comes here. If you open Chrome DevTools and go to network section and refresh and select the XHR, you will see that this API with this URL send the Ajax request to the server, and the data is exactly like this. And at this point, the name is this one, and the name appears right here. What if you enter a wrong ID, let's say this, and press enter, you are getting undefined. You know, here it says product not found. So instead of undefined, we can fix this in the product screen. After getting product, if product dot error exists, we can return a div, and inside that div show the error, product dot error. It's exactly the error that comes from the backend. Let's check that and refresh. You see, request failed with status code 404. And this error comes from where? Comes from the API. At this point, when there is an error, it just return that error, and it's gonna be like this. Also, we can return the exactly error in the backend side. If you check the backend, the exact error is product not found. Let's show exactly this error here. To do that, what I'm gonna do is to look for error dot response dot data dot message. If it doesn't exist, return error dot message. Let's see what we have. You see, product not found. So that's it for this lesson. What we did in this lesson is to create an API file to send a request to the server to get information about a specific product. We created a config.js to use same API URL throughout the code, updated product screen to send an Ajax request and get data about a specific product and show the name of product on the screen. And if there is an error, we show the error message that comes from the backend. And also in the server.js, we added a new endpoint to get information about a specific product. For next lesson, we are going to shape this structure by data that we are getting from server.